Hey there, this is Salaryman and behind me is a password-protected Redstone vault. Let's see it in action. So how does this work? To begin, the rotary locks are operated by a combination of radial chassis, mechanical bearings, and a sequence gearshift. These are all powered by an encased fan. All of the locks have the same exact design. Then we have the door and staircase changeover. It pretty much works the same way, though the sequence gearshift for this one moves in 180 degrees compared to the locks that move in 90 degrees. When the vault moves forward, this linear chassis over here catches the door, allowing it to be spun by the mechanical bearing. Then we have the control station. We have crates paired with content observers, but the main character for this build is the attribute filter. Now these things are special because they allow you to extract attributes from any reference item, and pretty much create a filter covering every attribute you put in, whether it be the category that the item belongs to or the custom name it was assigned. Combine this with the content observers and we get a simple way to check items for very specific details, perfect for a password system. Okay, now we have the tools. We just need to have a system capable of recognizing specific details, as well as the order in which they are placed inside the crates. For that, we turn to Redstone. Here is all the Redstone used for this build. As mentioned in the preview, this actually took me quite some time to simplify and clean up. The prototype for this thing was overly complicated, as most of my Redstone builds tend to start out. The first section over here is what connects the controls to the output. You can see here that the link at the end of the first line is connected to the start of the second line. The second is also connected to the third. At the end of the third line, we have a link that connects to the circuit that actually moves the vault components itself. The very first link is directly connected to the open button. Like many of my builds, this makes use of latching to change signal pathing. The signal can either proceed to the next line of the circuit or go to the exit link. All 3 lines have access to the exit link by default. The exit link is connected to the item return assembly. It's nothing complicated, honestly. This is just connected to a piston that holds up a set of redstone blocks, though you can't see them. The redstone blocks are beside a set of funnels that are placed right under the crates, so by default they don't let items pass through. However, when the exit link activates, the redstone blocks move down, the funnels take the items from the crate and drop them on the belt, which sends it to a bubble elevator, and that's how the items are transferred back up. So getting back on track, we need a way for the system to recognize that the correct item has been placed, and in which order it was placed in. If the item or the order is wrong, then the signal from the open button should pass towards the exit link. For the system to recognize that we have the correct item, we're going to be using changes in signal passing. This way, if we have the correct item, the signal can't go to the exit link and instead will proceed to the next line of the circuit. However, since all 3 lines go to the exit link by default, all 3 signal paths need to be changed in order to trigger the vault operation. If we trigger all 3, you can see that the signal from the open button now has a clear path through all 3 lines. However, this only takes care of item recognition, but not the order. To determine the order of placement, we need this circuit. I know it looks simple, but believe me, it took me an embarrassingly long amount of time to think of a simple circuit designed for this one. I'll explain how this one works. So basically, we return back to latching. See, latching specifically maintains the state of the repeater before the latch is applied. So if you power the right first, then the left, you get both needed outputs. But if you reverse the order, the latch prevents the right output from going through. This gives us an absurdly simple way of setting a placement order, since this makes it so that you have to go from right to left so you can trigger all the needed outputs. People, you have no idea how stupid I felt when I realized how simple the solution was when I was trying to make this work with bloody sequence gear shifts. I even tried a rotary selector before I managed to think of this. Oh my god. Anyway, we can now recognize the correct item and the correct order. So let's check the circuit that actually moves the vault components. This is where the link leads to. The first thing that gets triggered is the rotary locks. Then after a 3-second delay, the link for the forward movement activates. Then after 13 seconds more, the link for the changeover activates as well. If we press the open button, you can very briefly see that the circuit lights up, though since it's very fast, you're not really going to notice it. You can also see the changeover in action if we get close enough. The stair is formed specifically so that it doesn't clash with any of the other parts, particularly the locks at the bottom. Taking a quick peek inside and saying hello to the hidden hermit, you can see that the assembly responsible for moving the vault door back and forth basically works the same way as the rotary locks, only with a piston instead of a mechanical bearing. Alright, if you could also ignore this one, I originally planned on having the piston spin and retract this part once the vault door was changed over, but I decided that the redstone work I needed to do or modify wasn't quite worth the effort. Anyway, now for the circuit responsible for closing the vault. Yes, I know technically you can make it so that the opening and closing use the same circuit, but that honestly makes it a tad bit more complicated. Separating it actually makes it a lot more simpler and cleaner to do. This link right here is connected to the close button. Since this is the closing action, we just reverse the movement for everything. So instead, we start with a changeover, then we withdraw the door from here, then finally we close the locks. As an addition to this one, we also activate the exit link so that the item will be returned to the user. Honestly, that part is my favorite. Well, that's all for now. I know this isn't a step-by-step guide simply because I do not have the time to actually make one, so I settled for a showcase instead. Honestly, designing the appearance of the vault was probably the most challenging part. It took me so long to actually make that thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. World download is either in the description or in the comments below. I already have plans for the next video, though it may change depending on how long it takes to do the redstone for the next build. For now, thank you for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you can. Find me on Twitch if you've got time. This is Salaryman clocking out.